I'm going to talk a little bit about Florida schools with aquaculture. I'm going to purposely not talk about two schools, and that's Riverview and East Bay, because those teachers are going to talk to you later. So I'm not going to talk about that. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about FFA Aquaculture CDE, the career development event. FFA's, you probably know what FFA is. There's a lot of Okay, so Courtney alluded to this grant back in 2010 that they got to have this workshop. I think it was like 50, 60 teachers showed up or something like that, right? My predecessor, Carlos, was a part of that. His role, in that, and if you don't know Carlos, I suggest you go talk to him because he's awesome. He's a distinct, unique personality, but also a great wealth of aquaculture information. I saw Miss Roach laugh, so she knows him pretty well. So, anyway, so he was really kind of the boots on the ground for that project taking off. Like Courtney said, there was only a handful of schools doing aquaculture. Now it's in the hundreds, so it's quite overwhelming. And there's no uniformity at all to that. That's kind of what this project is about. You guys are all getting the same tank, same biofilter. So that way you guys can create this cohesive group amongst yourselves. And when we do this again, you guys can teach those teachers about it and already have this beautiful, wonderful network built. Right now, it's just sort of coming back next year to teach this workshop. Yeah, I'm not doing this. Running around getting food for anyway, so these first few slides are just pictures of stuff that I encountered. And it's sort of just like, you know, it's the Carlos footprint. Like I saw his degassers, his tanks, and you kind of just throw all this stuff together. These first two right here are Leonard High School. So I saw Miss Van Dam was going to come today, but she didn't show up, and I was kind of excited to see her. But anyway, when she started, she just had a few fish tanks in her back land lab, and then by the time we ended, we got her 8 tanks, 2 fish tanks over here. They're not pumping because they're working right now, but I'm horrible. Once things are done, I leave and I go, oh man, I forgot to take a picture. And so I only have pictures of stuff that's like almost done. But anyway, so it's stuff like this. We encounter it all the time because you guys have to use whatever you can get your hands on. A lot of this was donation, like these are wood barrels cut in half. These are just aquariums with those rafts on top, doing some sort of an experiment. And this is really, it's kind of piecemeal all over the place. And I realize that teachers have to do what they have to do, but we also want to have some sort of uniformity so that when a new school comes on, you guys can go, hey, guess what? These are the pitfalls and the advantages that I saw, and I want to pass that on to you, just like what Mr. Rogers is going to do for you guys later on. Anyway, so, sorry, I forgot your name, but you asked me something during the break, and you said you didn't have any power. You're running power out to your land lab. Right. We built this last year. It was the first one I ever did. I actually forgot to call Carlos and say, hey, man, have you ever done this before? We ran it off of a solar unit. So this is running this system right here. You can actually see the solar panel.
You have batteries too?
I don't know. I really don't know. And I'm not afraid to say that. I say it all the time. You can ask me any questions you want. I'll say I don't know.
You need storage batteries.
They came to me and they said, look, I'll do the solar stuff. Do you think it'll work? And I was like, no, I don't think it'll work at all. Number one, because I don't want to do it. I want to go on to something else.
He loves his job.
But anyway, so and there's a little bilge pump in this back tank right here. These are tomato crates. Like this is what tomatoes are trapped. So we got to go get tomato crates. Right? So there's a bilge pump back here, powered by this thing right here, and this solar panel dealio. And it goes. It's a little pump. The pump is like that. It's big as my fist. So I was like, there's no way this is going to work. And it works now, by the way. We run water all the way up to these 2 tanks right here. We put a Venturi in to get the air into the tanks. I want to say there's maybe 20 to 30 koi and 20 to 30 tilapia in these fish tanks. Overflowing through this reverse biofilter. Don't ask me. Actually, Courtney, I got to tell you how I built this thing. It's so weird. But anyway, because you got to go with the water flow, right? And then she was doing raft aquaponics in these 2 things. And these 3 crates right here. As far as I know, it's working. Usually when it's not working, I get phone calls. It's not working. Come down and help. So anyway, that's pretty unique. So it is possible. I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer.
Is it like graduated?
Yeah, it's a bit of a slope, right?
You know
So we started high. Yes, because we pump high and then kind of let it trickle down. It tends to be working. Anyway, so you never know what you're going to encounter when you go to a school because they're on limited resources. We always try to make it work. Like this is one of the things that Carlos was really good at, going to schools, helping them build a system, helping them get their project going. But it's also something that we're trying to lighten the load of. It's more than one person could do, especially since there's hundreds of schools now. So you guys are now in it, all right? So be ready. And now I'm just going to talk about a few specific examples. But I am going to reference this a lot, this 2010 teacher workshop, because you guys are sort of version 2 of that, right? Even though hopefully it won't be another decade until we do this again. I think that's not the plan, right? We're going to do this again.
Hopefully next year.
Hopefully next year, but maybe 2 years.
Maybe, hopefully sometime, not 10 years from
Not 10 years. And also another thing we're doing too is like we're supplying you with supplies and components and system components. But anyway, Crystal Lake, they were a part of this. They've since, Kevin Seitz is a new teacher, knows nothing about aquaculture. So I've been kind of giving him the crash test through all these aquaculture things. Because he inherited, Crystal Lake has 2 greenhouses, 1 building, 8 systems. A lot of these, this is not what you want to do. And I never promote this huge footprint unless you want to do that. I'm a big fan of these sort of single small systems, but I'm just showing you some stuff of how it's morphed. Like it started. Yeah, anyway, so you'll see. Anyway, but they do fry rearing, grow out, aquaponics, they do plants. One of the things that they grow some Vallisneria, which is like a Tate grass. So another teacher during the break asked me, what do we do with our fish? What do we do with what we're growing? So this is another sad fact, right? I mean, you have to be able to make money a little bit, put it back into your program. A lot of the teachers I know that are very successful are good at getting grants. They're good at selling their product or getting money for their product in some way, or turning it into some way that can be profitable. And you'll hear more about that from the future speakers. But anyway, so he's able to grow some of these plants and sell them back to the wholesaler as well. He's still getting his feet wet. Like I said, he's about, no pun intended. It's like his first year or something like that. They've gone through, I think, 3 or 4 teachers, and that's another sad fact, but it does happen. Oh yeah, and there's me. See, I'm working hard. This is about to fall over. So you can't see it because the angle's wrong, but this is about to fall over. And if I move my hand, that's gonna fall. Anyway, so this is their aquaponic.
So it's still there to this day.
Oh yeah. Well, we put a shit in there. So, I work hard. Look at that. Look at me working hard. And here I am working hard. Oh wait, no, those are all kids. This kind of stuff. Like I said, when Kevin came on, it was a lot of repairs needed, so we're repairing the plexiglass, and the kids were helping. You can see the windows missing there. Anyway, this is very similar to something you guys are going to get, or if you're been awarded the system. I believe that's right.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, sort of, maybe.
Yeah.
All right, Fort White. This is Wayne Oakey. Interesting guy. If you guys know Wayne, he's been an FFA for a long time. It's up in Columbia County. He did not inherit the system. He had it a long time. Actually, Chuck Sickrow built this system before the teacher training workshop. When I went up there, he goes, Chuck Sickrow helped me build it. Unbelievable. Chuck's about to get ready to retire, so that's awesome. He had a 300-gallon tilapia grow-out tank, but he's since he's had a couple of students that were very much into the aquaculture, and then I kind of tend to work with those kids individually. She's a middle schooler, but she wanted to set up an experiment, very basic, on the grow out of a species that we were looking at, metallic shiners for the ornamental trade. And so she conducted an experiment, real basic for our level, right before middle schooler, you get blown away by this kind of stuff. Like, wow, it's really cool. She got first place for a Florida FFA Agri-Science Fair. I don't know what that means, really, because they just call me and say, I got first place. I'm like, congratulations, that's wonderful. But I'm not sure if that's exclusive or if there's like many of them, because it seems like a lot of people win first place. So yeah, but anyway, so but with that, he got awarded a grant because of that project. I think it's a USDA grant, but he calls me, he's like, I got $5,000. How can we improve the system? And so that's one of the things we're doing right now is improving his system because of that money that he got, because of this work that she did. A way to get some money, right? There you go. There's Wayne there. That's her there. Caitlin. She did a good job. That's her experimental system behind her right there. Pretty basic. But anyway, Island Coast. If you guys know Joe, Joe's another very distinct, a very charismatic personality. He's down in Cape Coral, down in Lee County. I always say, and I don't feel bad saying this, don't do what Joe's done. And that's okay. I know we're being recorded. It's okay. He would laugh right now. So 2 greenhouses, a build. I mean, I can't even keep track of it. 2 pole barns, 9 to 10 systems. I don't even know. When you go there, you're just overwhelmed about how much is there. It's definitely quite large on the larger ends of these school programs. Tilapia, red claw crayfish, he does aquaponics, he does hydroponics. He is able to provide his school cafeteria with his hydroponics, but he's not able to do that with his tilapia. I don't know if that's a county thing or if it's a school thing, but he does have a deal with one of our producers where he actually sells back the tilapia that he produces. Before the pandemic, he was also doing a large annual fish fry as well, but before the pandemic, it was about 500 fish a month. I'm not sure he's at that level right now.
Only 500.
That's a lot, by the way. And so that's why I say, don't do what Joe's doing. Don't do that. I'm going to show you, and this is a few years old, by the way. This is his aquaponics greenhouse, right? You guys are getting a system. These are like 30 to 40 feet long. 100-gallon tanks. There's 4 of them. There's the sump. It's the whole greenhouse just for aquaponics. So don't do what Joe's doing. Okay. I mean, I love Joe. He's a great guy and very ambitious and also very good at getting grants. Very good at getting grants to pay for stuff like this. And that's what is good for running your program. There he's got his kids doing some water quality and some bagging up some fish. Haines City High School. Again, these guys, and Joe was a part of this too. Caroline and Brody Odzawala, they were a part of that 2010 training workshop. Well, see you guys, we're going to be talking about you in 10 years. Like, where did they end up? We'll be on a slide. Having a greenhouse.
In a workshop.
You'll be having a greenhouse full of plants and tilapia cichlids. They actually did some ornamentals, which was really cool. Carlos had a big impression on them. Cichlids are an ornamental fish, if you don't know that. They grow snails, sell them back to some of the farmers and some of the wholesalers. They grow some plants as well and sell them back to Waterscapes, which is just up the road. They're a big participant in the FFA Aquaculture Career Development event, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. They always place really well. That's very important to them. It's always kind of funny. Like some schools have certain levels and certain goals about what they want to accomplish. I didn't put this on here because they're in the middle of it. But right now, she's running the aquaculture class right now, I believe. But they're looking to get an alligator. So for disciplining children. That's all I think of. Like, why would you get an alligator? But they really are in the middle of getting an alligator. They just got cleared with the permit. So she's like, she called me the other day, could you get me a baby gator? And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening at Haines City? Anyway, so this is a few years old, but this is the back of their land lab that leads out to the outside. But anyway, this is one room, this is one side, and that's the other side. Do you guys know what these are, these tanks here? If you know what they are, raise your hand. Well, I know you know.
Yeah. It's very advanced.
All right. Well, yeah, Lynn?
The concrete ones?
Yeah.
Liners.
What, say again?
Crypt liners.
Got it, right. These are burial walls. This is an industry standard in the ornamental fish world. And since, Carlos comes from the ornamental fish world and was part of that project, I see these in schools all the time. So they get them used. So there's a big pile of bones out back. I didn't go over.
That was a nice attempt, Joe. I appreciate it.
That's gotta be honest. I was joking. I know I'm being recorded. They did not get the news. Anyway, so yeah, they just put some gel coat on. They're a great fish tank. The best part about it is once they're down, they're down. That's where they stay. Anyway, moving on. All right, these guys are great. This is a relatively new program. They participated in the FFA Aquaculture CDE routinely, and then they came to me and said, hey, I really want to do an experiment. Now, they were solely focused on doing an experiment, not necessarily for production reasons, right? Most of the people I've talked about with production, except for Fort White, these guys wanted to do an experiment. So first year, they set up just There we go. The first year, they just set up 3 different systems. They were looking at aquaponics. They were going mangroves with tilapia, so a freshwater system, right? Did pretty good. Again, FFA, Agri-Science Fair, first place. Is that something they hand out to everybody?
No.
Okay, all right.
Oh, just the students you work with there.
No, I'm just. There you go. That's what I was looking for.
They're just working on the racks. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Okay. Second year, got some money. I don't ask. So they got some money, and they came back and they said, "Hey, we want 3 more tanks. We want to do a single system." They did saltwater this time. Did snook in the saltwater with mangroves and 3 different types of mangroves. And so they like really elevated their game. They started out with moving bed reactors, and then they got bead filters. You guys are lucky. Yeah.
Was mangrove the only plant that they grew with the saltwater system?
That's what they were into, and so that's what they did. Yeah, I think they did red, black, and white. There were 3 different types of mangroves. I don't know the results because they just graduated, and I've been trying to track them down. Like, what were the results? Ghosts. They're gone. But I expect I'll see them come fall, when things settle down. But anyway. So anyway, great kids, and just I want to give you guys a little bit of a view of what aquaculture in your school could be as it pertains to what you guys want to accomplish. Right? Now I'm going to talk about the CDE. So I assume you all know what FFA is, and you all are ag teachers, I assume, right? Okay, all right. So I'm not going to go like history or anything like that. So career development event. Competitions for students to learn about specific careers, right? That's the career development event. We host. Sorry?
Just to be sure, can you define what the acronym FFA stands for?
So they don't go by that anymore. They just go by FFA. Yeah. So it used to be Future Farmers of America, right?
Future Farmers of America.
Very good. Very good. Very good. But they don't go by Future Farmers of America anymore. They just go by FFA. They do.
Yeah. Because it's too much to say.
We're not all farmers.
Okay.
Well, and I think they say, like, yeah, we're not just the future farmers, we're future lawyers, and future doctors, and future citizens.
Got it. Okay.
Anyway. So we host the actual final, the FFA Aquaculture CD final here at the Tropical Aquaculture Lab. The preliminary test, of course, is before that. It's for high schools and middle schools, and then we also break it up by individuals and teams. We'll talk a little bit about that when we talk about the scoring part of it, right? But these kids, man, they know their stuff, and I'm really kind of impressed. So anyway, the preliminary, since you guys are all FFA people, you know what I mean by preliminary test day. It's just a 50-question test. In 2019, this is pre-pandemic, right? Yeah, basically. We tested 56 schools, which is pretty good, kind of on the low end, usually somewhere between 56 and 80. During the pandemic, it was much lower. But next year, we will be back to full capacity. Anyway, so out of those preliminary 56, the top 10 scoring high school teams and the top 10 scoring middle school teams go on to the final, which is here at the Tropical Aquaculture Lab. You guys drove past the sign. Anyway, they rotate. So they have a 4-person team, a 4-student team. Each school that qualifies for that competition has a 4-person team, even if it's middle school or high school, it doesn't matter. Some of them show up with 3, and I guess that's okay. I don't know exactly the rules. We go through 4 practicums. One is another written test while they're here. Another one is a species ID and selection. And I have slides for all of these, so we'll kind of go a little more in depth, or I'm just going to repeat exactly what I'm saying here. During the odd years, we do an anatomy and physiology, A&P, and then aquatic system design and troubleshooting. And then during the even years, we do water quality analysis, disease, pest, and predators. So it's not the same thing every year, but we just rotate to those 4 practicums. And then the best part of it is the team practicum at the end. They do, well, you'll see. So here's the species identification. We set up 25 aquariums. Try to make it a split between plants and animals. On the printout, and I think it might be actually in the book, there's a list of species that we require them to know, or know of anyway. So we have to pick the 25 specimens out of that list of species. And I want to say it's a couple hundred. We put them in a tank. We want them to be alive. Here we got a little baby alligator. I should think of that to go on, right? we want them to be alive. We want them to be sort of, you know, in their habitat, an aquarium, right? So, and then they just go down the line, identify them, and then see how they do.
To answer your question, it is not, but in tab number 4, there is the general overview of the aquaculture CDE, the first couple pages. The entirety of that that document is in the Google lesson.
Nailed it. Okay, so anatomy and physiology. This is all, like I said, this is taken in odd years. We lay out some specimens, have them identify internal and or external structures and function. Not just what is it, but what does it do? What's it good for? Don't just use fish. These are hybrid striped bass. I can say that now. We use clams too. We used crabs last year, or crawfish last year. So anything that's aquaculture species is fair game. Try to kind of keep it to what's on the species list, but there's quite a bit on the species list. So. Aquatic system design and troubleshooting. This is also taken in the odd years. You guys know about RAS now, right? You're experts. And we have this sort of flow through or a hybrid. What I mean by flow through is a lot of the industry that I deal with deals with the flow through. You pump water from the well to your tank, out of the tank into a detention pond, back into the earth, right? So, or a hybrid, which is a little bit of both, which is probably the most advantageous part of it. Having actually, if you can recirculate your water, that's, you know, a great way to be. But if water quality goes bad, you just open that flow through valve. You don't have to do too many water changes. Extensive systems, ponds, shellfish leases, things of that nature. Really, anything sort of fair game for us, particularly if it's on our site. And as you guys will tour around tomorrow, you'll see what we have here at the lab. We're a few different ponds and systems and greenhouses and what have you. But we still will ask them about shellfish leases. We don't have a shellfish lease here, but that's fair game. And then components, right? All the stuff that Courtney and you guys will learn about on Friday that Courtney talked about earlier. Water quality, my favorite thing in the world. You guys are going to love water quality, by the way. Oh, so much fun. Every day, really? It's your rodeo.
It is my rodeo.
Water quality in even years for us here at the lab. Again, we just set them up with different questions on different water quality parameters. There's about 9 different parameters. We try to stick to these. Again, it's not just about what is it reading, but what does it mean? Like, what does it mean if your alkalinity is low? What does that mean? Right? What does it mean if your ammonia is high? Is that good or bad? And then we have this identification.
If your ammonia is high, is that good or bad? Thank you.
I really, when I heard myself say the alkalinity, you guys were like, what is that?
You'll learn that.
Or not.
Or not.
Identification and treatment of disease, pests, and predators. This is a huge one, very applied to the industry, but you know, from the smallest little microscopic organism all the way up to you know, a major predator or ornamental fish farms, which is birds and otters and things like that. Does anybody know what this is? Yes. Are you allowed? Let's say it. It's water hyacinth. Yeah, it's water. It's a prohibited plant. We'll just let that linger. All right, here we go. Okay, so the team presentation, this is the best part, right? We send them a problem about 2 weeks before they get here, and they have to come up with some sort of a solution and present it to us in a presentation, a 3 to 5 minute presentation, depending on if they're middle school or high school. This is our favorite part because we can ask them anything we want to about the presentation, but you would, well, actually, you probably wouldn't because you guys are all teachers. We're all blown away at how sharp these kids are. You know, I really am. It never ceases to amaze me at how good these kids are. Knowing way more about aquaculture than I do now. And they're, you know, in high school. Amazing. I have high hopes for the future. But anyway, so this is the best part of the whole competition, and they kind of let loose and have a good time. So yeah, if you haven't done it, I would encourage you to participate in it, especially since you have to figure out fish anyway, you'll be doing the work. So the scoring.
Do you have a list of all of those prompts available to the teachers if they wanted to do it as like in-class assignments or anything like that?
The FFA website does.
Yeah. So
okay, thank you.
Yeah, some of the stuff we don't want the teachers to get access to. We want them to not teach from that. We want them to teach from a broader range.
I was just thinking of like a fun presentation for like class.
Oh,
like,
you
using
mean
some
the
of
team practicum?
Yeah, the team,
Yeah.
like using some of the past.
So this is the thing. I want to record them, but they won't let me record. Yeah.
I think they do like 3 years ago or something like that. So it's not like super recent on what to do, but they do give like examples of those. Yeah.
We're
older.
I will search for that right now.
Nice. This is good.
Sorry.
Okay, so how they score it is by individuals and by teams, right? And here's the scoring. I'm not going to go through all this stuff again. There's your individual score, team score, because we have winners for both categories, right? There you go. The individual's total performance for all 4 practicums, but it does not include the team presentation, and the team, of course, includes all of their scores plus the team presentation. And they get no money, right? So this is, you guys have been to Orlando, done the expo, and they just go up and they're on stage and all the lights are on and stuff like that, which is great. They love it, right? So here was the individual winner for that year. I think this is 2018, 2019, I forgot. And that's the team winner for another year. This was what they live for. We are petitioning right now to have a national aquaculture CDE. I'm not saying it's going to be hosted here, but we're talking about it with a couple of teachers, a couple of ambassadors at FFA.
Indianapolis doesn't like water.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, there you go. I don't know if it's going to happen. I mean, it's come up in the past. Of course, those prizes do have some sort of a monetary value. As you notice, I've always mentioned monetary value because you do want to be able to have something to show your administrator, like, hey, this is a profitable thing that I'm teaching my kids, and I can bring money into my program. Anyway, I'm done. I think, all right, I'm like way early, so I will take a lot of questions, or we can just sit here. I got a few jokes I can work out.
There was a question on the chat about what opportunities are available to students with the CDE certification. So, and then it also says, is it required for students to certify with a team, or can they do that individually? So just some clarification on that for the CDE.
I think they have to be in a team. Okay. I'm pretty sure. The other one, I don't know, outside of just getting a sheet of paper. That's all it is a sheet of paper.
Okay, so it's not like
yeah, so right. So it is not a certification. It's different than the FAA industry certification, which Tiffany's going to talk about.
We'll talk about tomorrow.
Yeah, she's going to talk about that. So that's a little different, and there is monetary value associated with each student that passes. For the FFA, there is not. It's a sheet of paper, and they get to stand up on stage and get an